Hello, and welcome to this Creative Lab session. Today, we will be discussing all of the different AI models and where to start. To get some things out of the way, I will be mainly talking about LLMs. An LLM basically means a large language model. This means it outputs text. This does not mean it can't understand images or understand a video, but it will output only text. There's also image generators and video generators, but those will be a topic for a different day. Today, we are going to be discussing all of the different models, when to use them, and how to use them. The current issue is that there are way too many models. You might even need a model to understand them all. But, as I can show you, most of them are quite similar, and they work in a same way. If I show you guys here, we are right now inside of ChatGPT. But if we move over to Claude, it looks the exact same. If we move over to Lachette, it looks the exact same. Perplexity, DeepSeek, Quen, they all have the exact same interface with the little chat box or the chat bar in the middle where you can put your prompt, and the basic models and everything else basically all works the same. So when we are in a chat, we are going to be using a prompt, which is a text that you give the AI that the AI works with. I'm going to be kind of skipping over how AI exactly works because honestly, it does not really matter. What matters is how you can implement it. So let's start with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is probably one of the most known ones, and it is important to know how to use it well. So once you open chatgpt.com, you've logged in, you are ready to go, you will be greeted with this interface. Technically, to just start with AI, you won't need anything else. This will be enough. So let's say, for example, let's ask it a question to plan a trip to Lisbon. It will go and give you a reply, just like any other model would. It will give you the best time to visit, how to get there, and everything else. How this model is actually functioning, it is a prediction tool. So when you put in a text, like plan a trip to Lisbon, it will go through and give you a reply that you think you might want. The good thing to know is that this is all pre-trained. So all of the information that it gives you, it already knew. You're just basically asking it and it is predicting what you would like to see. So now that we have that first step out of the way, we can basically experiment with a whole bunch of different things. As you can see here at the bottom, there is a bunch of different options. You have the plus sign where you can add sources. You can add your own files and it will use those as sources for its response. Then you can click the search button. When it lights up blue, it will search the web to search for data. So when you ask it to plan a trip towards Lisbon, it will search the most recent web searches for Lisbon. If we go on to deep research is, like the name suggests, a deeper research into the topic. It will just give you a more extensive answer. I wouldn't really use this unless you're actually researching a topic. If you're just having a question for AI, just use the normal function. And then lastly, we have generated image. Mine is currently in Dutch, so it says maak een afbeelding, but that, like it says, means that you can create an image within ChatGPT. Okay, to quickly recap, you can just ask questions into ChatGPT without any hassle and you'll get a response. There's different options, but you don't have to worry about them too much. But this is where it gets complicated. Within ChatGPT, there are multiple models. Every model has its own benefits and its own uses. If you go to the top left and you click ChatGPT 4.0, you will see all the different models listed, and there's even the button for more models, and it will give you even more. It is obviously very important that you choose the right model for the right use. Generally, you're just going to be using the 4.0 model. It will give you a pre-trained response, and it will likely meet what you are expecting it to get. But what I will do is quickly explain the other models. You have O3. O3 is the reasoning model. Reasoning means that if you give it a prompt or a question, it will go through its own process and iterate on it. What it will actually mean is it just goes on to reason. So let's say you say plan a trip to Lisbon, it will go through and think, all right, we need to know what weather it is, we need to know how we're going to get there, we need to know where we're going to stay, we need to know what activities to do, and it will basically give a more detailed response. This does not mean you will not get a perfect response from 4.0. It will just mean it will be a lot more thought through. Then you have O4 Mini, which is the exact same as O3, just a newer model or like a test model of the newer model. For now, just use O3, it works just as well. Then you have O4 Mini High, the exact same thing, just use O3, just as simple. Then under the option More Models, we have ChatGPT 4.5. This is a newer test version of ChatGPT, and it has more personality. Again, just use 4.0. It is just as simple. It works the exact same. So just as a quick recap, you have O4 Mini and O4 Mini High. Those are the exact same as O3, so just use O3. Then you have ChatGPT 4.5. That is the same as 4.0, so just use 4.0. And then lastly, there is 4.0 Mini, which is the smaller version of 4.0. Again, like the name says, Mini. This will just be a faster response. So now that we've tackled all the different models, I would like to say one more thing. ChatGPT 4.0 will honestly suit any case. It doesn't matter what it is, and it'll give you a decent reply. If you have a more complex question, which has different parts to it, I would use a reasoning model like O3, but you can also try O4 Mini, O4 Mini High. It does not matter. Lastly, we are now going to continue to all the different models from all the different companies. But what I will say is that it all comes down to personal preference. Most of these models will basically do the same thing. There might be some that are a little bit better, some that might be a little bit faster, but for the normal average user, you won't notice the difference. So just pick whatever one you like. A big follow-up after ChatGPT is Gemini. This is Google's AI tool, and it functions the exact same. So now that we are in the Google interface, we can do the same, going top left to search for different models. We can see 2.0 Flash, 2.5 Flash, and 2.5 Pro. Again, there is a little bit of an explanation between each of them. We have 2.0 Flash, which is your fast all-round help. This works the same as the ChatGPT 4.0. Then, if you would like some reasoning, you can use the 2.5 Flash, which is the faster model, or 2.5 Pro to get a more extensive answer. I would say most people use the reasoning or the 2.5 Pro model for coding or maths. So if you're not doing either of those, just use 2.0 Flash. I do want to give a small mention to the 1.5 Flash model. This is a Gemini model, but it is no longer accessible through the normal gemini.google.com. You actually have to go to aistudio.google.com. Why? I have no clue. There's just two different sites where you can access these AI models from. But while we are in Google AI or aistudio.google.com, you can go here to the settings, you can go to Gemini 1.5, like so, and then we can go to Gemini 1.5 Flash. And like you can see here, the main thing is that it can process 3,000 images at a time, it can process an hour-long video, and it can listen to hours of audio as well. This means if you would like to extract data from images or from a video or from audio, I would like to suggest using 1.5 Flash. You can try it out, it might work in your favor. For the rest, this Google AI Studio works the exact same. You can use all the different models. And there is also the Gemma model. This Gemma model I would not use, but something interesting to mention is that it's such a compact model that you can actually run it on your own. We have a different Creative Lab session that I will link below if you are interested in doing so. But for today's explanation, don't worry about any of that. Now we move on to Claude, and Claude can be really a hit or miss. Some people really like it, some people really don't like it. It takes a bit longer to do its thinking process, but the thinking process is quite extensive. Besides this, it has a hybrid reasoning process. Hybrid reasoning, you don't have to understand how it works, but what is nice is that you can just put in your prompt and it will on its own think about, does it need reasoning or does it not need reasoning? It is basically like the ChatGPT 4.0 and O3 model, but then combine it to one. You can just put in a prompt and it's on its own will decide what to use. So here we have the exact same. We are going to be using Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. This is the latest one. It's the best one. It is that hybrid one. There is different models. They are all for the Pro version, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. In here, we have our interface. You can do the exact same thing as ChatGPT by adding files and even giving a style. This style is the style of the response. So you can either have a normal, concise, explanatory, or a formal response. This is quite nice if you're trying to set a certain tone with your response. And then at the bottom, there is a bunch of buttons. These buttons are a bit different than the ones on ChatGPT or from Gemini. These buttons are suggestions for prompts. So let's say, for example, you want to learn something. It will give you a bunch of different options as presets for the prompt. So let's say, help me make sense of these ideas. And then it will give you a prompt and it will fill it all out. and it goes to work with that prompt. So you don't even have to write the prompt anymore. So here you can then put in your ideas. Let's say one, for example, opening a glasses store, or two, opening a hearing aid store. And then it will just go through and do all of that. So it kind of works with you. So then we are going to move on to Lachette, which is the AI model for Mistral AI. It works the exact same as ChatGPT, Claude, or even Gemini. There is the tools option, which is the same tools as we used before, like web search, image generation, or code interpreter. You can upload files like any other one. And the nice thing about Lachette, which is the same as Claude, is that it will actually on its own decide what to use. So you could just put in your prompt and it will on its own decide what tools to use and when to use reasoning or not. So try it out, it's kind of cool. The only unique factor about this is that it's made in Europe, so that could be interesting. And then we move on to my favorite, Perplexity. In this example, I do have Perplexity Pro, but it works the same on the normal Perplexity account. Perplexity is your go-to AI when you want to do accurate research and recent research on recent events. What makes Perplexity so different is that it uses different models to give you a response, but it implements web search in a fully total new way. So, as you can see right here, if we click this button, you can see it's currently set to Gemini 2.5 Pro. That's the model we've already seen before. So its responses are going to be similar to what Gemini 2.5 Pro does. But what Perplexity adds is the web searches and the sources. How this works is it scours on the internet before giving you an answer, just like any other search option, but it is very good at noting down what sources it used and when it used it. This way you can actually backtrack and see where the AI found all of its information. Besides this, Perplexity works the exact same as any other model. You can just put in your prompt. There's also the research button. This basically means it will just use more sources. It will give you a more detailed response. It works the exact same as a search. Then we move on to DeepSeek, which is a model from China. DeepSeek is the exact same as ChatGPT, is quite powerful in the same way. But this also has the deep think option, which is the same as deep research. It will just go deeper and deeper into its research, and a search option, and also a file upload. Again, this all comes down to personal preference, whatever you would like to use. You can try DeepSeek and try ChatGPT, put in the same prompt, and see what response you like better. And then we move on to the final one, which is called Quen, or Quen, or Quen, however you pronounce it. What makes Quen quite interesting to me is that technically it's the same as any other model we've already discussed. It has thinking, it has search, but what I really like is the different options at the bottom. It gives you, like let's say for example ChatGPT, the option to do image generation, but also video generation. You can summarize text, analyze an image. You can even create artifacts, which is different coding tools, which if you don't use, you don't have to know. It gives you those standard options, and if I click brainstorm, for example, it will fill in that prompt. If I go back to, let's say, for example, video generation, you actually go into a video generation tool. If you go back, you can go to image generation, it goes into the image generation tool. It is quite simple to use. It's basically like a playground. But then again, if you would like to use it, just try it out. I will give a couple of honorable mentions, like say, for example, Grok. Grok is quite good. It works the exact same as ChatGPT, nothing special. You have Llama with 2 L's from Meta, which it's a bit hard to use, so I wouldn't even try and start with it, but it's out there, so I thought might as well let you know. And then there are endless more models that you could dive into for hours. So, as like a final keynote, actually while recording this video, ChatGPT has updated its 4.0 mini model to become 4.1 mini. It also includes the 4.1 model, which is used for coding. So, this just goes to show on how fast these models are evolving. It makes it quite hard to stay up to date with all the latest improvements and innovations. So, that's why I would always say to use the latest models that you have access to. Besides this, it might be nice to follow news items that keep you up to date with different AI models. If that seems like too much, you can also just follow us on Instagram and TikTok under Mac8. But as a conclusion, I would say that most people will always use ChatGPT. It is the most accessible and easiest to use interface. If you want to do good and accurate research on recent events, I would suggest using Perplexity AI with all of its sources and citations. If you want the Google integration, you would use Gemini. But honestly, it does not matter. The important difference to know is between a normal pre-trained model and a reasoning model. Once you have those two separated, you can just use the normal model for all of your day-to-day questions and the reasoning model for any complex questions that you might have. And remember, these AI tools are here to help you. They are a tool to perform better. Let's say you have a prompt, but you're not quite sure if it's the right prompt to get the answer that you want. You can just ask a ChatGPT or any other AI model, hey, can you improve this prompt to make it better to get a result something similar to this? Or could you iterate on this prompt to make it better? Never take the first answer of an AI as its final answer. Keep prompting to make it better and iterate on the process. And the most important suggestion that I can give is just trying it out. Try different models, try different prompts, try different methods. At the end of the day, it's about doing and figuring out what works best for you.